I suppose, I don't know if we could do you justice. Do you want to introduce yourself? Because we saw you on the telly on the Tommy Tiernan Show earlier this year, and it really struck a chord. We were like, who is this lad? What a story. So would you give us your own story from the start?
I will, yeah. I was on the Tommy Tiernan Show. I was asked to go on that in 2018, but my story is around addiction and stuff like that, you know. So I declined it because it's not easy to go on that big TV show like that and talk about my story. It also involves my family story, my community, you know. So I said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. And in the meantime then, I was after doing my masters in criminology and I got married. So then they asked me to come on again in 2019, and I asked some friends and family what you think, and they said, look, go for it, you know, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So I said, grand. So that's how I went on. But it was basically they wanted me to go and talk about my experience of addiction and prison and recovery and stuff like that. So that was the context that I went on. I was afraid of my life going on. I didn't know what Tommy's experience was with drug users. Was he ever mugged, or is his gaff robbed? Is he going to take it out on me here? Or?
So people can probably tell you're from Cork.
I'm from Cork, north side, yeah.
Knocknaheeny.
Yes.
That's where young offenders is set, is it?
That's right, yeah.
Are they accurate?
No.
No.
We don't have haircuts like that. No. Almost, though. Maybe 2 inches higher.
Did you ever wear white socks over your tracksuit?
Never, but some do.
Some do.
Not in my generation, we didn't know.
Are those lads to be avoided?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If they're looking for a fag or €2, just
keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you grew up in Knocknaheeny, be a tough neighbourhood. Yeah. And so at what age did you first start getting in trouble or getting involved in drugs?
When I was growing up, like Knocknaheeny is, when it's all you know, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like Knocknaheeny, there's a stigma attached to it because it's seen as, it has a stereotype of joyriders and drugs and all. And you know, in every stereotype there's truth. Let's be straight about it. But when you're growing up in there, it's all you know, so it's nothing to us, you know. And I remember if we were going playing football matches, now GA, hurling, soccer, whatever, in other communities, you know, you get the height of abuse, like, but they were like, they were afraid of us, but we're just the same as everybody else. I mean, we're just from a council area or whatever. But it does have a lot of antisocial behaviour and drug use, and I suppose I was attracted to the negativity of that, you know. I suppose issues going on in my own life, I was looking for a way to escape, and as well as that, the people in the area who had status and were respected were drug dealers, joyriders doing donuts and handbrakers on the back road. It was a spectacle. And it was like everybody used to be going cheering them on. That was the way it was. So it was like, fuck it, you know what? When I'm old enough, I want to do that too. So that was the way it was. Yeah.
It was a thing of like, I see them doing it, and like people love them lads. I want to be just like them. Is it kind of like that?
It was the same thing. But then, like, you could have another group of lads that are going to the local GA club of St. Vincent's, and them lads have status too, and they're playing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and winning trophies and stuff like that. It's just certain groups of us was attracted to the negativity, and certain groups of us was attracted to the positive role models. And I suppose a lot of the lads that was attracted to the negativity probably come from homes maybe where the parents might have struggled a little bit, you know. I know I was a middle child, and you know, when my father went to prison, my mother found it hard to deal with us. I'd become very challenging at home and in school. School was, secondary school especially, was bad for me, and you know, there was just a lot of conflict for me, and I just kind of hanging around in the streets then, and a lot of the lads coming from difficult backgrounds there too, and we just kind of had comfort in each other, and we started drinking, taking drugs, and it kind of got carried away then.
At what age did you take your first drug?
I'd say 13. I started using Tipex and solvents and you know,
what are you doing with the Tipex?
Sniffing it.
You mad bastard!
I know, and petrol and you know.
Sniffing petrol.
Yeah.
Links. I remember lads like where I'm from in Roscrea, like that was like sometimes you'd be coming home from a soccer match, the lads be inhaling.
Best smelling Britain.
I swear to God, boy. I was like, Jesus, that Links Africa. Who's spraying that on themselves? I was innocent enough in that, like the boys be down the back of the bus, and I was like, fucking jeez, that's a lot of links they're using. Like,
He must have a date.
Yeah, the boys be fucked in, like, getting off the bus, and that was young as well. Like.
Yeah, but like when you're a child like that, you don't have access to illegal drugs or hard drugs, so you're just kind of experimenting. But it's not a good sign when you're that age and you're looking to get out of your head, you know. Like we were looking at it, it's a buzz, but looking back now, wasn't a buzz. We were trying to escape from our mental health at times or our social situations or whatever, you know.
And where does it go from there?
It went straight into alcohol, 14, 15, ecstasy, hash, them kind of, you know. You'd often hear the same stories, you know what I mean? Hash and alcohol, then it moves on to ecstasy. Once I finished school, 17, then I kind of left home. Started staying with my brothers and friends and girls and just party, drinking every day, taking ease every day.
Go away. Are you working at this stage now?
I was doing a bit of painting. I was doing an apprenticeship painter in times of the boom now. So 2003, I went through every painting contract in Cork.
You could quit a job on a Friday, start new on Monday.
Yeah, even if you got fired on a Monday morning, you'll be on a new site Monday evening.
I'd say you were painting some stuff, lad, if you were taking yokes every day.
Yeah, exactly. But even with the yokes was the weekend, you know.
Okay.
But when I wasn't working, then it was during the week. But it was the weekend really for the yokes. The drinking then would have been every evening. But what really kind of caused me damage was when I started taking prescription drugs like Xanax and Rohypnol and Valium and stuff like that.
Just the cutting in begun to fucked in like
Yeah, or just falling asleep on the job, and that was common.
Yeah, why Rohypnol? Does that just knock you out?
No.
Would you buzz away on it like her?
My dad used to say to me, "You're the only man in Cork to take 10 sleeping tablets when he wakes up." Wake up and take 10 Rohypnol. And this is what was happening, this is the fact. You wake up and take 10 Rohypnol. You're not tired. It's not going to knock you out, but you're off kilter, you know. And you're like that then. But you're just zombied for the day.
Were you in a constant state of just not knowing what the fuck was going on?
It's just a constant state of numbness. You don't feel anything. I would have been very low confidence, low self-esteem, insecure, all these things. And when I started taking tranquilizers like that, I didn't feel any of that. So it was just a self-medication, that's all it was. And it got out of hand. And then when I was drinking alcohol on top of the tablets, blackout, erratic behaviour, arrested, and that's kind of when the trouble started.
And like, to get your hands on these drugs, like there's obviously some sort of a local dealer or something like that, I imagine.
GP.
Like, yeah. Like you go down to the GP saying like, fucking, I hate painting, man, you're making me something there. Like,
it was like, the story was with the GP. My friend's brother used to say, this is what you can say to get the tablets. So I went down, I was 17, I gave him a bogey date of birth because you have to be 18. He said, I'm just out of prison. And when I was in prison, I was on 3 Valium, 2 Rohypnol and 4 painkillers, codeine tablets. I thought, I was going to be ran out the door as a scrawny 17-year-old with a high-pitched voice. Got the monthly script, about 200 tablets.
At 17.
It was that easy.
Jesus.
It was that easy. And then I started trying other doctors in Cork, and I used to travel to Cork City and County on the bus, getting prescriptions off doctors, cashing them and taking them, selling them, and that was kind of my life then.
And how did you first end up getting in trouble with the guards then in prison?
Because when I was taking the tablets, you're zombied. But when you mix alcohol, I don't know if you've ever taken a Valium or anything like that. Some people will take Valium if they're afraid of flying and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But if you have a drink, like, you're just going to fucking flatten yourself. You don't mix Valium or Rohypnol with alcohol. Rohypnol is traditionally known as the date rape drug.
Yeah.
So if we're mixing alcohol with that, you just become very erratic. Robbing cars and lots of criminal damage, antisocial behaviour. A lot of the time then you're waking up and you've no recollection of what's after happening, and you could have a stack of charge sheets,
Jesus.
Public order, or car theft, that type of stuff.
When you're robbing a car, like you mentioned there, like, you're obviously so over your head or whatever, you're just like, I'll just rob it for the crack. It's not like you're robbing it going like, I'll rob this and sell it and I'll make a few pounds. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't it wasn't criminal as such. It was more like a bit of fucking...
I never classed myself as a criminal. Because I was never making money out of anything I done. It was, when I was younger, it was for the crack. And when I was older, it was to get crack.
We were reading about, you said the first time that you went to prison was you were caught at a concert.
You would be 40 down on Mill Street. I had a quarter of hash in my pocket. And there was a lot of UB40 tends to bring in an ugly crowd, like
to be fairly mellow,
So there was a lot of detectives, plainclothes guards, in there, and I was out of my head on the day, like, so I got arrested. I didn't get arrested. I got searched, brought into a room, searched, a lump of hash on me. So I got a fine for that I didn't pay. So that was in 2004. I was 18, and then I had to go into Cork prison just for a couple of days. Because it was 5 days, I had to do 5 days for not paying the fine. You know,
how much is the fine?
About €300 or something.
And
but you know what? When I was that age, I was looking forward to going to prison.
Why?
Because that was where I had family members that had been there, my friends had been there, people in my area. It was common. It was like a rites of passage.
Yeah.
It was like, I was in there. It was like something that us young fellas at the time aspire to be there. It's a mad context.
Was it manly? Like
yeah, but I was afraid of my life now going in as well at the same time. I was like, oh my God, but at the same time I was excited. All that is kind of going on,
Fuck.
Yeah, it's mad like that. The negative mentality I had and my parents had at the time. That's what we aspire to be, whereas other people was looking to get leaving cert points and all this, and all this.
Because like when we were thinking of it today, like when we were chatting just before you came, we were like, surely be fucking easier pay the fine. Like, but now that you put it that way, like
we didn't care. Yeah. Like prison was not a deterrent. Then after that, once the initial went in the door, seeing what it was about, wasn't that bad. A lot of fellas from my area was in one landing.
It's like a fucking youth club.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, if you're looking at the poorest and most marginalised, most socially excluded groups in Cork, they were based in the landings. There was travellers, Nigerians, Polish, people from my estate, people from another council estate down the road. That's who was in there. Fellas from Ballybeg and Waterford, traditionally poor estates, some travellers in Tralee. That was who. It was all poor people. That was what was in there.
But James, did you enjoy prison?
I did, yeah. Especially as I got older. When I started using heroin, life became really shit. There was no crack and no buzz in that anymore. Very isolated. And then at that time, prison was like respite for me, and I felt more freer in prison than I did on the outside, because on the outside I was tied to a chemist for methadone or a dealer or doctors or whatever. I'd no friends, I'd no social life. But when I went in there, I was going to the gym in the morning, I was going to school, I was playing soccer, I had my family on the phone. They weren't worried about me, I wasn't worried about where I was going to sleep or where I was going to eat. And I was just so happy and content in that, which is a very sad thing to imagine.
Yeah. You took that,
Yeah, because when I got out, it was like, what was I getting out to? I had this identity then of being a drug user, and it was like, that's all I was and that's all I thought I ever meant to be,
Were you still using drugs in prison?
Very seldom. Feast or a famine, mainly famine. Sometimes,
someone would get something in.
Yeah, exactly. And then you might have a party for 1-2 days. But generally, I was sober in there. Do you know what? I was happy without drugs in there. Because I had nothing. It's hard to explain, but the insecurities, the fears, and all these issues I had in the outside, I didn't have in there.
You weren't worried about anything.
I wasn't. It's mad.
And all the times that you came out of prison and stuff like that, we never attempted to be like, right, fuck it now, I'll go on the straight and narrow, or were you?
I was fed up with drugs at a very young time, at a very young age, and I would engage with services of certain charities would come into the prison, and I'd meet with them and they'd be care plans, and I'd say, you're getting out now, James, on Monday, when you get out now, we'll do this, that and the other. And that's all grand in theory, but when you get out them gates, where are you going to sleep? Who's your friends? Who's your family? What are you going to do, James? This is the inner dialogue you're having. Where are you going to go, James? Who's going to take you in? Where are you going to live? What are you going to do? Abandon all your friends and your family? Who's going to give you a job? It's very easy to just go back to what you know, as bad as it is, rather than going to the unknown.
They are general fears, if you're getting out and you don't know where you're going to sleep that night, and if you are going back to your friends, then was that group of friends the same group that were probably on drugs?
Exactly. Plus, it's your identity, it's who you are, and to give up your identity and who you are and your peers and your family, for what? For the unknown?
Yeah.
It's a very hard thing to do.
Did you feel that, if you had, gotten clean, would you have been kind of turning your back on all those lads you grew up with?
Eventually, when I did get sober, when I went to recovery this time round, I did have that conflict inside me. I felt like I was abandoning people. I felt like, who do you think you are, James? You think you're better than everybody else? And but I knew at that stage, like I was no good to them in addiction. You know what I mean? Even if I'd moved to the other side of the city, to the south side, the quieter part, for the period of time I stayed away from that area and certain people, but I had to. I had to, because I would have been killed stone dead up there.
You mentioned using heroin and stuff like that, and was that the point where you kind of spiraled out of control and like hit rock bottom, and was that the turning point as such?
Yeah, I smoked heroin, and heroin you kind of smoke it at the start. I smoked on tinfoil for a few years, and I was kind of able to survive on that. You know, I was in a relationship, and I called to my families, but it escalated then, you know, and I started using needles, and then I remember being with partners and, you know, afraid to be intimate because of my parents, and I'd sore arms and couldn't be around family, couldn't wear t-shirts. Just became really deteriorated physically, you know, very thin.
How did you look?
Shocking. Like if you think of a stereotypical heroin addict, that's how I looked, kind of pale yellow skin, very gaunt looking,
thin,
looking down at the floor, hunched shoulders, hood up, no self-esteem, no self-worth. That was who I was.
And how did people treat you?
I isolated myself away, because I know, like, when you think about a heroin addict, or with the way we look at heroin addicts in society is like the lowest of the lows, you know. Like, we can tolerate somebody that's using coke in the jacks of the pub.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's nearly normal.
Yeah,
like in a bad way. Like,
yeah, exactly. But heroin is a stigma. There's a huge stigma, and when you're using it, you feel it. You know that you're the worst of the worst. You feel dirty. You feel worthless, and you just stay away from people. Like
if you walked into a shop, the security guard probably would have followed you around, kind
of. Well, normally with good merit.
Yeah. and so, fucking hell, at that stage, like trying to survive, you're probably robbing, and you were sleeping rough, or?
I was sleeping rough then towards the end, yeah.
Where do you sleep, or how do you?
I was sleeping in my mum's garden shed on a deck chair for a while.
Did she know you were there?
No. And I'd hear them. No, you can imagine what it's like. I could hear them going to school and work the next morning, and, you know, just being so close to them, but being so far at the same time.
Yeah, jeez.
And I remember I slept on the street.
In doorways and
doorways.
Oh man, that's got to be traumatic. Like.
Yeah, I slept. I done a lot of sleeping then on people's couches, and I would have manipulated people as well to. If I had drugs, I called your gaff, and then you let me stay in your gaff, and the drugs are gone, and then I go and get drugs and I got to somebody else. That's kind of the way it was. A very insecure existence, a very precarious existence. A lot of hunger as well, you mightn't think, but you're fucking hungry all the time. If you're starving and you find €50, you're not buying food, like. You're buying drugs, and then you're just so hungry. It's just it's a horrible existence. There's nothing glamorous about it.
When did you decide to make the change then? What clicked, or you know?
I tried to get sober a few times, but I suppose I just wasn't ready, and I would always like what I was talking about a while ago. The thought of giving up who I was and everything to do what, it was just, I couldn't imagine my life. I couldn't imagine being something different. And you know, when you have low confidence and low self-esteem and low self-worth, it's very hard to imagine you're doing something different, you know. But eventually, I was after, I had an overdose, and 2 guards found me. And
where were you?
Down Blarney Street, just off Cork City.
In a doorway, or?
No, I was down a laneway. It's like, I don't know if you know the Mercy Hospital in Cork City, across the bridge up in between Sunday as well and Blarney Street. It's like a laneway between, that links 2 small streets. 2 in the morning, you don't get many people walking up there. You know, midweek, like, and somebody walked past, and I was panned out on the floors, and I was after ODing and heroin at the time, and 2 guards and 2 paramedics came along, and them 2 guards said to me, "Look, James, we know you a long time, and this is a no law for you. You're going to be found dead. You're lucky that somebody just walked past there, but what if they didn't?" And I come away from there. No, when a guard has been compassionate and kind to you towards you can't ignore it, you know, because you don't generally have them interactions with guards in the lifestyle I was living. So I found it hard to ignore it. But at that stage in my life anyway, I was very lonely. I was very depressed. I wanted to die. But there was a small part of me that wanted out of it as well, or that felt that if I had the chance, I felt I had some potential to do good in my life if I could just, you know, get it.
And bit of inner self-belief, I suppose.
Yeah, a tiny bit, you know. And that guard, I suppose, on that day, and there was multiple interventions. The seed was planted by a lot of people along the way too. And I suppose after that interaction, then I was like, no, ma, I rang Merchants Keyhole, the charity in Dublin. I said, look, I'm fucked and on death's door. What can I do to get sorted? And I got into a treatment centre then a few months later. Yeah.
And then when you come out of the treatment centre,
I was homeless again.
Yeah,
I was coming to the end of that. I was coming to the end of treatment, and I was like, where am I going to go? You know, I burnt all my bridges with my family. And even though I was back in contact with them at that stage, I still couldn't, you know, just go back to their door because I'd fucked up a lot of times. I didn't even trust myself at this stage. Yeah. But I felt I was a little bit different, you know. I was mature, and I was 28 at this stage, you know. And I rang Simon Community in Cork. I said, look, I'm coming to the end of my treatment. I have nowhere to go. And they said, we just have a sober house that they recently opened up, which was a house in a nice estate in the south side. And there was 3 people in it, and there was 1 bed left. And I got into that, 4 fellas in early recovery. So timing was great for me.
Yeah.
I was haunted, like, really. And I got out there for a year, had a key worker supporting me, gone to a lot of NANA meetings, aftercare groups, got a little bit of a job on a C scheme. And I suppose a year under my belt then, become more confident, met a good woman, and she's encouraged me to go to the UCC. I went to UCC and...
Because I'd imagine getting a job has got to be a barrier if you come out of, you know, you would have had a record.
Yeah, exactly. And
hard to get hired.
Exactly, and I'd fuck all of a CV, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd my name and address on my CV.
You just had those 400 painters that you'd worked with.
Yeah, I know, yeah. You couldn't exactly go back and ask them for a reference either.
Could try harder, yeah.
But, Simon Community gave me a job on a C scheme, cleaning one of their administration buildings.
Yeah.
So...
you just stuck at that for a while?
I done that for a year, and I got a lot of training in there, and it just helped build my confidence, because I'd have... If there's accountants, the CEOs and all the fundraisers and everything.
Yeah.
And I was chatting to them like this now, you know, and then I began to think, you know, I could actually do much better than what I'm doing here. And they used to say to me, James, you've a lot of potential. You shouldn't be doing this at all. You could do better things. And I slowly started to become more confident. And then when I met my wife now, Gillian, she was like, you should definitely go to college, you know, you'll be well able and all this, and you might get a job in youth work or helping other drug addicts or something like that. And I said, fuck it, you know what, that sounded like what I should be doing, you know. So that's how I ended up going to UCC.
And what course did you do?
I did a youth and community work bachelor's degree for 3 years, and then I did a master's in criminology, and then I'm starting a PhD there now in a couple of weeks.
That's
some going.
That's unbelievable.
I know, it's mad. I'd be pinching myself, lads, to be honest.
And like, do you think you reaching out for help yourself was what made the difference? Like, I mean, I know people from where I'm from that, like, some people in their family were heroin addicts or stuff like that, but it always seemed to be the family dragging them to get treatment. Like, whereas like with you, it was kind of like yourself. You reached out, you asked for help. I
went to treatment in Tullow, County Carlow. I had to get a fucking 4-day camel ride from Cork.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know what I mean?
A pilgrimage.
Yeah, there's no easy way to get there. But I got there twice. I got there for my assessment, and I got there for my admission on my own. You know, and my uncle Pat, taxi driver in Dublin, he helped me out. But I made the phone call myself. I made it my business to get there. Like, I get a lot of parents contacting me saying, oh, my young fella, my young man is this now, how do I get them into recovery? You will never get somebody into recovery unless they want to go to recovery.
Yeah.
But that's like, a parent doesn't want to hear that, you know. So
because it's very disempowering.
Yeah.
And you know, it is.
They don't want to give up either.
Exactly. But like, you can't get Johnny to do what you want him to do unless Johnny wants to do it. Do you know what I mean? And my mother tried to change me, but until I wanted to change, it's not going to happen. And it's just a very frustrating place to be for a parent.
What do you say to that parent then? You can't just say, I should have let him off. Like,
well, the way I'd say it is, if you have a child like that, let's say a child, we say between 18 and 24, right? He's a young person, right? And he's carrying on like that, and he's bringing trouble around the door. You have to get him out of the house, because he'll destroy whatever is left in the family. He'll break up marriages, and he'll destroy the other siblings in the house. There'll be nothing but drug dealers and police around the door. You're not abandoning him, but you're not going to facilitate the drugs either. You're not going to enable him to live. He has to have some consequences from his life. And I'd say, if my mum never kicked me out, I could be at home this minute, smoking hash up in my room, playing Xbox, and never done nothing with my life. Yeah. It was until I had real consequences, and I was met with a stage in my life where it was either take ownership of this now, James, and seek help, or continue to do what you're doing. But I know people that the mothers never had consequences, and they're still doing the same thing at the age of 30, 40 and 50. And then
Tough love, is it, or
tough love? It's tough love, but it's just about, I will help you. I'll do anything to help you. I'll do anything to help you when you want it. When you want help, I'll remortgage the house in the morning to put you through treatment about that.
Jeez, it's hard to sit back and
It's so hard.
watch it though. Yeah,
It's shocking hard, very hard.